Welcome to Marketplace with Charles. Marketplace is brought to you by Art of Skincare, the company that brings out the beauty in you, and Kuwisa Lodge, where dreams do come true, from deep in the heart of Mabalingwe Nature Reserve, as well as Grace Farms, your #1 daily fresh produce. I am Charles Ngobeni. On Marketplace, we redefine your future by equipping you with tools that you need to achieve your entrepreneurial dreams. Each week, we bring you insight from experts in different fields of business, from wise men and women of great stature. On today's episode, we'll meet once more, as promised last week, with Mr. Sibusiso Mfeka, who is a business coach, a consultant, a brand analyst, a lecturer, and an author of note. Branding is hailed as one of the most important and basic business practice. But what is branding? My guest will address this question and other related questions in order for you to understand the subject and how it affects your business. Sibusiso.
Yes, sir.
Welcome once more.
Thank you very much for having me once more.
You know, we promised viewers last week that we definitely come back to discuss branding.
Yes, thank you very much for having me, and greetings to the viewers.
I know you have got a lot to say.
Yeah.
What is branding?
Branding is, simply put, I normally define branding as something that you do every day and how you do it. It has to do with certain elements and features that have to do with your brand, which makes it easier for you to be identifiable. Because, for example, when people go into a supermarket, for example, to go and look for a product, they will look for that product that appeals to them. But also they will look for that product that they have been loyal to for quite a period of time. So that particular product, you will have to make sure that it is always identifiable to them. So when we talk about branding, we talk about those features that makes it easier for you to be identifiable and selectable as well. That which distinguishes you from the rest.
What is the importance of branding in business?
The importance of branding in business is that, number one, it gets to show what is it that you do. It brings out the quality that you are presenting to a consumer. But most of all, it's a psychology to the mind of the consumer.
Okay.
It's what convinces the consumer that what you are selling is worth having. For example, if people go to an event, the first thing that will appeal to them, it is the poster of the event. Even if they've never been to an event, they take a decision based on the quality of the poster. But if the poster is not of quality, even if the event is of quality, they may take a decision not to go, because what convinces them, what speaks to their mind, what convinces their psyche, it is what they have seen visually, you know. So the importance of branding is therefore helping your customer or your consumer to make a decision whether to buy or not to buy your brand. So it is the first thing that makes them to take a decision.
You see, you look at great companies like Coca-Cola, although I'm not here to promote Coca-Cola. They are big in the name than the product itself. Talk to me about the power in the name.
There is the power in the name, especially a name that has been built over time, because a name comes with reputation. A name comes with credibility. A name comes with being known, you know. So how you name your product and the name that you ascribe to that product or to that brand is very much important. I remember when we just got our freedom in South Africa, there were a lot of names of companies that were using indigenous languages. You know, you would find Mfeka Resources, you would find Ngobeni Consultancy and all that. Even though the people who owned those companies were not Ngobeni.
Yeah.
And some of them would have been white people who were not Mfeka. But somehow they realized that having a name that is indigenous will speak to the indigenous people for them to use my product. Okay. So there is something about the name that is important for the mind of the customer to make a decision. So even with Coca-Cola, which is a name that has been used over time and years, people believe that a product that comes out of Coca-Cola is genuine. They believe that the product that comes out of Coca-Cola is a product that they can trust. It's a product that they can rely on. It's a reliable product. So there is something about the name, especially a name that has been tried and tested over time.
Wow. You know, you remind me in my early days of business. Yes. I had another company, we named it Gold Dust.
Yes.
And we never sold anything.
Wow.
And our address was based in Guyana.
Okay.
We changed the same product and call it Masakane Sizwe.
Okay.
And then we changed the address to Sentin.
All right.
And it started selling like hotcakes.
Name and location. Because you're saying it's Gold Dust, but you never sold anything, but you were in Guyana. And probably somebody was asking themselves, how can it be Gold Dust? Because in Guyana there's no gold. You see, gold is in Joburg. So you see, there is something about the name that you attach to how you are building a brand, because there are a whole lot of other things that come with it.
But then in any business, who is responsible with branding?
Everybody in the business is responsible. I know that people will say we need to hire a marketing person, but everybody is responsible for the marketing of the company. Everybody is responsible to brand the company. I normally say, when I address people on issues of branding, to say everybody in the organization is the brand ambassador of the organization.
Yeah.
Because branding is not just about the logo, it's not just about the banners and beautiful colors and all those things. It's also about the culture in the company. It's also about how people treat each other in the company, how people treat customers in the company, you know. So it is everybody's business, from the receptionist right to the CEO. Everybody, including people who are sitting on the board, everybody is responsible for the brand of the company.
Including the employees.
Including the employees. However, there has to be then a brand steward, which is where you now have the marketing director or the marketing manager. That is the person who is responsible for how the brand is supposed to interact with the public. Is responsible for the brand policy and the brand strategies of the company. But in terms of brand ambassadorship, everybody is an ambassador of the brand.
I want you to take this further. How does an employee enhances the brand when they interact with the customer?
First of all, it's about how they live their lives. Okay. I know people will say, what I do at home has nothing to do with who I am at work. But honestly, it has everything to do with that, because customers will make a decision not to buy from you based on the lifestyle of an employee at home. You know, how they've encountered an employee at home. So the employee is a brand ambassador whether they're at work or whether they're at home. If they're at work, there is a particular way that they need to interact with the customer in such a way that it represents the aspirations of the company, it represents the values and the goals of the company, you know. So the employee has a big role that they are playing, because you can lose a serious customer just because the employee did not treat that person very well. You see, there are certain customers who will come into your business not dressed in suits like you and me right now. They will come dressed just normally, but these people are bringing millions into the company. And this employee who does not take things very seriously in terms of how to represent the brand may end up messing up that relationship because of how they treat people.
You know, on treating people, you get guys who are moneyed, and they work casually, and you may lose a deal.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I mean, you look at a person like your Mark Zuckerberg. He's always in a jean and a grey T-shirt, you know. And if you didn't know this guy from social media or from interacting with him through television and digital platforms, you'll never know that this is the guy who owns Facebook, you know. And you may decide to treat him in a certain way because of how he's dressed. You know, somebody once said that sometimes we miss opportunities because they come dressed in overalls.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's very much important that each and every person who comes through the door, doesn't matter who they are, even the homeless person who lives on the street, when they come through that door, you treat them as a king, because you never know who you are dealing with.
They could be great people. And you never know what they could be in future.
Exactly.
Take us through the financial implication of branding to the business.
The financial implications are very big. That is why big companies, they invest a lot of money in branding. But it's also important even for small, medium enterprises to invest money in branding. You know, I'm currently now on a study doing my PhD, investigating the very same issue of branding, brand communication, in terms of where SMEs will say, yeah, branding is important, but I do not have money to invest in branding because I've got operations to look into and all that. But the issue is, who is going to know about your operations? Who is going to know about your product? So if you don't invest money in branding, then you're actually sabotaging the business. So the financial implications are very much important. However, because we are at a time where economically things are very tight, you then need to work with people who can help you to work your budget in terms of where in branding are you supposed to invest your money? How much are you supposed to invest in what? I mean, I think the greatest investment that must go into branding right now should be in social media, because that's where people live, literally. That's where your customers are, literally. You know, you're not going to take your brand and put it on a billboard and then expect that people will see it and interact with it, when they could be interacting with your brand on a daily basis through social media, you know. So you therefore need to know where to invest your money in as far as your brand is concerned, and what leverage will that have for your brand.
Value for money.
Value for money.
But then what is the difference between marketing and branding?
The difference is very simple. Branding is a psychology, you know. Branding is positioning yourself in the mind of the consumer, and it's continuous. But marketing, it's about the activities that you do to bring out the brand, you know, developing a brand strategy, going on campaigns, doing brand marketing campaigns that you do, doing television adverts. All those, they form part of the marketing activities. But the branding it's a psychology. Branding is a mind game. Yeah, it's a mind game.
Well, maybe we should take a short break.
Please, let's do that.
Viewers, we'll be back shortly with more on branding you don't want to miss. Welcome back to Marketplace with Charles. I am still sitting here with Sibusiso Mfeka, the great. He is great in branding, and he still has got more to offload. And I want to believe whatever he says, if you take it seriously, is going to help and enhance your business, especially in these difficult times. Sibusiso, talk to me about the legal aspects of branding.
The legal aspects of branding are very much important. In fact, in my book, The Making of a Brand, in my last chapter, I spend time dealing with the legalities of branding, because I realized that especially SMEs, they want to do branding, but also they do not understand that there are legal implications to branding. Yeah. For example, the issue of using somebody's logo. You know, let's say, for example, I'm inviting you to my seminar to come and speak at my seminar, and you agree. But agreeing to come and speak doesn't mean you have agreed for me to use your picture. It doesn't mean you have agreed for me to use your logo. Then I take it for granted that just because you've agreed, I can go into your social media page and just pick out a photo, pick out a logo, and put it on my poster, you know. there are serious legal implications to that if we did not agree. You can sue me and still come to speak to my event. Why? Because there is a certain legal implications. There are certain legal things that I did not consider and all that. Also, issues of legalities have to do with issues of trademarking, for example. You know, when you have built your brand, there are certain things that you will need to start trademarking, especially when you know that this particular concept is making you money, so that it is not duplicated by anybody. You know, you then engage legal people to help you to trademark that, or you take it to DTI yourself to have it trademarked there. You know, obviously there are people who always take chances. You know, there are people who will decide to hike your sneakers instead of Nike them, you know, and they'll still decide to use the swoosh, you know. But in spite of that, you have a legal standing if you have put into place some legal documents to say this is how my brand is going to be used. For example, there is what I normally call the brand Bible, that each and every brand needs to have a brand Bible, how the brand is supposed to be used, what type of pictures, you know. For example, if I'm invited to speak as a speaker, I don't just give out any other pictures. There are certain pictures that go into the posters.
And that represents you.
They represent me, but they are also approved for my brand, you know, because when I took them, I had a particular idea of how I want to be branded in mind. And if somebody is going to decide to go into social media and use something else that I have not approved, then we have a problem, you know. So there are legalities in terms of trademarking, copywriting, and all these other things.
So are you saying you are a brand yourself?
I am a brand myself because we've got brands who are businesses, we've got brands who are political parties, we've got brands who are human beings, you know. So I believe that you can brand anything. If you make money through you giving services, either as a speaker, as a poet, as a singer, your own intellectual capabilities that have been put on the table for you to make money and transactions, then I believe you are a brand. As a matter of fact, these days, we are also talking of executive branding, to say even executives are brands, because we are not just looking at the company, but we're looking also who is at the helm of the company. Who is the CEO? Who is the chairman of the board? Why is this person the CEO or the chairman? What decisions are they making that are affecting the business negatively or positively? So when you are on the news because of some scandal, the company is on the news.
Yeah. In fact, I've seen some other companies losing their market share on stock exchange when a particular CEO resigns.
Not only resigning, when a CEO has done something that puts the company in bad light, they can lose serious market share, because other companies will say, we don't associate with that. You know, I mean, sports people like Tiger Woods, for example, there was a time when he lost serious sponsorship because he was on the news with his shenanigans. Exactly, you know. So companies, they attach themselves to personal brands, to people brands, but when people brands do things that are not kosher, they withdraw.
How does branding separate companies?
In what sense?
In other words, the company that is doing so successful and the one that is not so successful, how does branding play a part in that?
It plays a part in a sense that it's all about positioning. You know, a company that is not so successful, one of the things that influences that, it is how it is positioned. Positioned to the consumer, positioned to the customer, positioned to the stakeholders internally and externally. So any brand or any company that is doing well, you also have to look at the brand value of that company, to say in as far as the brand value is concerned, because you also have to understand that there is the business, there is the brand as well. You know, the business is the processes and the systems that we put into place to sell what we are selling, but the brand, it's about where are we in the mind of the consumer. And you sometimes find that the brand is even more expensive than the company when we are doing valuation. If you were to ask actuaries and accountants and lawyers to evaluate your brand, you may find that you are more expensive than your company.
So there's a possibility that I'm worth billions now that I'm sitting here because of my brand.
There's a high possibility because of certain things that you have done over time that have made you to build what you have built.
But is it important to re-evaluate yourself at any given step of your life?
Brand audit is an important aspect of life because if you don't audit your brand, personally or business brand, you will not know where the brand is right now and what the brand is capable of. You will not know that this show, it reaches as far as the US or the UK. You will not know if you do not take time. And if it has that much of reach, then you've got leverage when you go into the corporate world to say, invest in this brand because this brand is able to reach 1, 2, 3, yeah.
I understand you wrote a book on branding.
Yes.
Take me through that.
Yeah, I wrote a book on branding. The name of the book is called The Making of a Brand. One of the reasons why I wrote that book is because I realized that SMEs, for example, most people who are running small businesses, whenever you talk to them about going to do a marketing course or a course on branding or just a course on business, they say, man, you're wasting my time. I've got money to make. I don't have money to be sitting on a desk and all that. Then I realized, say, okay, I think I need to write a book that will speak into that space of branding so that they can understand that you can understand branding from a layman's point of view. That book does not explain branding from an academic point of view because that would not have worked for the target market, because the target market is your entrepreneur who's hustling in the streets, who's doing things on a daily basis to make sure that they put food on the table, they build their lives, they build their small businesses going forward. So that's one of the reasons why I wrote that book, is to be able to explain certain things about branding, to say branding is a lifestyle. Hence for me, branding is what you do and how you do it on a daily basis. Branding is a lifestyle. Branding is not something that you do today and you don't do tomorrow. You don't brand yourself today and not be branded tomorrow. You don't come today and hype up everybody and tomorrow it's quiet. We don't hear anything about you. You need to be consistent in what you're doing. So I do bring in a little bit of some academic understanding, but I try to simplify it as much as I can. To say issues of culture, for example, the fact that ngingumZulu, that on its own has an impact to how I interact with business people. If, for example, you go to a country like Japan, for example, how they do business there, they do it differently. As a matter of fact, in my teaching of communication, you've mentioned that I'm a lecturer. So one of the things I teach is communication within missions. One of the things that I have learned is that when you are talking to a Japanese person and you're discussing a business, after you've done discussing the transaction, you now exchange business cards. Yeah. You can't give a Japanese person a red business card because red to them is the color that signifies death. So when you give them a red business card, you've there and there you've shut down the business. You've shut down the business opportunity. How you greet with people, how you look at people in the eye. There are certain cultures where that is not allowed. Yeah. There are certain cultures where that is affirmed. If you don't look me in the eye, it means there is something wrong about you. But there are others who say, if you look me in the eye, there is something wrong about you. So what I'm trying to say in that book is that you therefore need to understand how different cultures work, so that you can be able to do business with different types of people.
In your book, do you address protecting a brand?
Yes, that is actually the last chapter of my book. That's where I outline ways and ways of protecting a brand. For example, and it's simple things. It's not big things, because people think I have to spend a lot of money. There are simple things. There are things like you can write your own brand Bible about how your brand is supposed to work. And then from there, you email it to yourself. When you email it to yourself, it comes back to you with a date and time. Yeah. That stands in the court of law. You can post it to yourself, and stamp it, post it back to yourself and put it in the shelf and not open it. The day you need it, you just pick it up there and give it to the judge and open. The judge is the one who opens it on that very same day. It's a simple thing. So there are simple things that you can do to get your brand protected. Obviously, then when you have money, you can then engage the lawyers.
As an author, is there any other book that you have written? If so?
Yes, this is the book that I've written. Name of the book is I Was Born for This.
Yeah.
Actually, this is my first book that I ever written. It's a small book, but this book, it speaks to purpose. I normally say, if you want to understand what personal branding is, this is the book for you. Because you can't understand personal branding or branding at all if you don't understand purpose. Because everything you do in as far as branding is concerned has to be intentional. So this book teaches you about what being intentional is all about. It teaches you about purpose and what purpose is and how you need to be relentless in your pursuit of your purpose.
Well, Sibusiso Mfeka. Mfowethu.
Thank you.
Thank you for gracing our studios.
Thank you very much for having me. It's an honor.
If someone wants to get hold of you for more information and to get copies of your material, how do they do it?
First of all, you can get my book, The Making of a Brand, on Amazon. It is available on Amazon. And then if you want to be in touch with me, you can get hold of me on my social media, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram, Sibusiso Mfeka Global.
There you have it. That was my great guest, Mr. Sibusiso Mfeka. From me, Charles Ngobeni, thank you for watching Marketplace with Charles, brought to you by Art of Skincare, Kuisa Lodge, and Grace Farms. Special thanks to Dr. Kone of Smiles to Wow for the insertion of active aligners to enhance our beautiful smiles, as well as El Michaud for my great wardrobe. Let us meet again next time, same time, on this platform. You may also want to view the repeat of this program anytime at your leisure by subscribing to my YouTube channel, Charles Ngobeni. I assure you, you will not regret that you have done that. But do remember, you can also get in touch with me on charlesngobeni.com, Instagram Charles Ngobeni, don't forget the underscore, or Facebook, you can go and like my Facebook page. God bless you. See you next time, same place.